Hello everyone, White Witch 110 here. I'm coming to you this evening with, first I thought I was going to read you a story, but now I've decided to go with a part of Canadian history. Tomorrow it will be 153rd anniversary of what I'm going to inform you about. I did do something on this last year on the 11th, but this year I decided the 10th. I'll read it. It is April 7th in Ottawa, 1868. The average temperature has been 51 degrees Fahrenheit all day. It is 2:30 a.m. and a parliamentary debate has just ended on Parliament Hill. The members are dispersing, making their ways home. A lone figure walks along Spark Street to Mrs. Trotter's boarding house. The click of the key in the lock is quickly followed by the sound of a gunshot. In the doorway lays the body of Thomas D'Arcy McGee, a father of Canadian Confederation. Patrick James Whalen is swiftly arrested. He endures an 8-day trial and is found guilty of murder. He is sentenced to hang February 11th, 1869. Patrick appeals twice, being voted down. William Buell Richards, the judge who sentenced him, was appointed to both courts before the appeals. Judge Richards was the deciding vote. Patrick James Whalen was born in Galway, Ireland in 1840. Thomas D'Arcy McGee was born in Carlingford, Ireland, April 13th, 1825. They were born 194.8 miles from each other and 15 years apart. Thomas D'Arcy McGee was raised a Roman Catholic. At the age of 8, he had a yearning for knowledge. His mother's father was a bookseller, and it's believed this is where the yearning came from. At the age of 17, he left Ireland for the U.S. in 1842. The relationship with his stepmother was horrible. His own mother had passed away August 22nd, 1833. Living in Boston, he became an assistant editor of Patrick Donahoe's Boston Pilot. In 1844, he became lead editor. At that time, he advocated for the Union of Canada into the U.S. In 1845, he returned to Ireland, taking the job as an editor for the National. It was the voice for Young Ireland, the Irish nationalist weekly paper. In 1847, McGee married Mary Teresa Caffrey. They had 6 children, and at the time of his assassination, only his wife and 2 daughters survived him. In 1848, he fled Ireland due to the Young Islanders' rebellion. There was a warrant for his arrest. McGee escaped dressed as a priest. He returned to the U.S. Once there, he founded New York Nation and American Celt in Boston. Thomas was very well thought of. He wrote many history books. McGee grew disillusioned with the U.S. political scene. In 1857, this saw him emigrate to Montreal. He believed Canada was more suited to a Catholic man. He would now accuse the U.S. of a hostile expansionist motives. In 1857, he published New Era in Montreal. 1858, he was elected to the Legislative Assembly of the Province of Canada. He championed for the independent Canada. 1861, Thomas had earned a degree in law at McGill University. 1863, he is Minister of Agriculture, Immigration, and Statistics. 1864, Thomas was a delegate to the Charlottetown and Quebec conferences. He brought forth workings to guarantee equal education for all religious minorities. 1867, Thomas was elected to the first Canadian Parliament. He represented the Liberal Conservatives in Montreal West. McGee denounces the Fenian Brotherhood, thus losing much of his Catholic supporters. November 5, 1867, he delivers a speech suggesting the national literature of Canadian creativity and ingenuity. The following April, he is assassinated, and I'll insert a photo of him here. Whoops, sorry about that. Patrick James Whalen was born to William Whalen and Mary Sullivan. At age 14, he became an apprentice tailor. Patrick traveled England before moving to Canada around 1865. He worked in Quebec City as a tailor. Patrick joined a volunteer cavalry against the Fenians. They believed, however, that he was for them. He was arrested and let go without charges. He moved between Buffalo, New York, Hamilton, and Montreal. He married Bridget Boyle in 1867. Bridget was well-to-do and 30 years his senior. They finally moved to Ottawa, where Patrick worked as a tailor. December 31st, 1867, two men were welcomed into McGee's home by his brother. One is believed to have been Whalen. They informed his brother of a plot to burn the house down at 4 a.m. McGee's brother gave Whalen a note to inform the police of this. He did not deliver this till 4:45 a.m. The house was never set afire. March 17, 1868, Patrick was an assistant marshal of the St. Patrick's Day parade. After the assassination of Thomas D'Arcy McGee, Patrick was arrested. Prime Minister Sir John A. Macdonald had permission to sit beside the judge. He was a personal friend of McGee's. And I'll put a picture here of Sir John A. This doesn't want to stay. Stay. Okay. The first day of the trial, Patrick sat listening and eating apples. Flies on the ceiling kept him entertained. When taking Patrick out of the defendant's box, the constable lost his footing, causing Whalen to laugh. Patrick was described as small and mean-looking. A 14-year-old tavern servant had known Whalen for 6 weeks. She said the pistol police had was not his. Another servant girl accidentally shot her arm handling the gun. There had been a $2,000 reward offered for the murderer. Whalen had a Smith & Wesson .32 pistol on him when arrested, serial number 50847. One gentleman called to the stand, a fellow tailor, claimed Whalen was angered by McGee during the election, yet others said he had no interest in politics. A witness named Turner was said to hear a member of Parliament offer someone $16,000 to go travel anywhere in the world if a statement was made against Patrick. Turner was heard to say he'd swear his grandfather's life away for $10,000 or $20,000. A wrong witness was called to the stand. Cameron pointed out, that was Whalen's lawyer, there was a prejudice against Whelan. On September 15th, the verdict was handed down. Patrick James Whelan would die by hanging for the assassination of Thomas D'Arcy McGee. 5,000 people attended the hanging at the then Carleton County Gallows. This is now the Ottawa Jail Hostel. Patrick's last words were, "God save Ireland and God save my soul." I'll insert a picture here of Patrick. Okay. McGee's funeral drew 80,000 people in Montreal. The population at that time was 105,000. Both men are interred at Notre-Dame-des-Neiges Cemetery. Patrick was buried on the grounds of the jail. He was claimed to have said no grass would grow where he was buried. Generations later, a priest consecrated a box of earth from the jail grounds and interned it with his wife. His wife lived as a recluse in Montreal until her death. The Canadian Museum of Civilization paid at auction $105,000 for the pistol that is now in their collection. And so that will be 152 years, 53 years tomorrow that this happened. And in more regular times, the Haunted Walk of Ottawa offers a special visit to the jail hostel in recognition of the anniversary of his hanging. They take you a tour through just as they would on a regular one for the Ghost in the Gallows. The only difference when hubby and I went many years ago was they had refreshments downstairs, and they took you through some locations that normally you wouldn't go. Hi, Waverly. That you normally wouldn't go with the Ghost in the Gallows. So tomorrow, take a moment and think of this gentleman whom many believe was wrongly accused. Things were too hastily done. And I can't recall the exact, but there was usually so many days and so many hours between when the hangings were done. And both were not complied with for Patrick's. So thank you all for coming by this evening. This is a really quick one, I realize. But I will also be placing in pictures of the gallows and also what one of the cells looked like. Not the one that he was in. Hubby and I actually got, at one time they had where if you could stay a minute in the cell, you would get a certificate. Hubby and I got certificates. There's also a photo of the women, because the women and the men and the children were all mixed together. There weren't separate floors for them. And there's also a photo of the doorway from that time period where he was shot. And I hope that they will give you some idea of what it looked like back then. There is a plaque on the building. I believe it would have to be now 2019. I did have a video, possibly with the Busker Fest, where I showed the plaque. But what surprises me now thinking is how many people, myself included, walk by that plaque every day or anytime we're down there and either don't acknowledge it or go and read it and, oh, okay, and walk away without really considering the fact that where you're standing is where a father of Confederation of Canada was killed. His body lay right where you're standing and reading this plaque. And then when you look around, people enjoying themselves, and the tourists are there, and now it's all restaurants and souvenir shops. You don't take the time to stop and think, what path did he take? What street did he come down? Did I walk the same steps that he did? Now here I am standing right where he lost his life. These things just never really come to your mind. And where people toiled to make a living is now jovial, and people spending money to bring back a piece of Ottawa to wherever they come from. It's quite strange when you stop and think about it. I'm sure there are other places with other history where we don't stop and think about it either, of what happened there. It's almost as if you're not acknowledging that it happened, that they were there. It's a little deep, possibly, but it's something that I started to think about when reading over the article again. I have a kitty at my foot. Yeah. Well, have a good evening, my YouTube family. Thank you very much for coming by. I will have a story for you. For crafting, I'm going to have to really search for whatever I have here on the top, because everything else is behind the cardboard. And I did start another story today. I think I've ripped it up about 7 times, but I'm liking the way this is going finally. So anyone who's coming by to see what's what, please feel free to check any of my other videos, see if there's something there that tickles your fancy. If there is something, please give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. Share any of my videos out. Friends, family, co-workers, neighbors. Greatly appreciate it. While you're here, also consider becoming a subscriber. And if you do, think about taking that extra step and clicking the notification bell so that you'll know the next time that I upload. So until the next time, as always, ciao for now.